She was told she would never walk again, but what her father did next left doctors speechless and brought her mother to tears. Before we dive into this incredible story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. She couldn't walk. A single dad did what billionaire doctors couldn't. Mom collapsed in tears. I remember the exact sound my daughter's shoes made when they hit the hospital floor for the last time. A soft scrape, then silence. That was the day she stopped walking. She was 7 years old, light as a sparrow, and yet the weight of her body in my arms felt heavier than the world. The doctors were kind, educated, confident. They spoke with calm voices and expensive words. They showed us scans, reports, and probabilities. They also told us the same thing again and again. Prepare for life in a wheelchair. My wife held my hand so tightly that her fingers went numb. I could feel her heart breaking, piece by piece, without a sound. I was a single-income dad with 2 jobs and a tired soul. I was not a billionaire. I was not powerful. I had no connections. But I had something else. I had time, patience, and a love that refused to give up. When my wife collapsed into tears in the hospital corridor, I made a silent promise. If medicine had reached its limit, I would start where love begins. Every morning before sunrise, I carried my daughter to the living room. I moved her legs gently, slowly, talking to her as if her muscles could hear hope. Some days she cried. Some days I cried. Most days we were just tired. But I never miss a day. I studied physical therapy videos at night. I built small exercise tools from household items. I turned therapy into games, laughter, and stories. I celebrated every tiny movement like a miracle. A toe twitch, a knee bend, a second longer balance. Months passed, then a year. One ordinary afternoon, something extraordinary happened. She stood, not perfectly, not for long, but she stood. My wife fell to her knees and cried the kind of tears that wash pain away. The doctors were shocked. They said it shouldn't have been possible. I smiled quietly, because what they couldn't measure was love. What they couldn't prescribe was devotion. Today, my daughter runs. She laughs. She dances in the same shoes that once scraped the hospital floor. And I learned a truth that changed my life forever. When the world tells you to stop hoping, that is exactly when love begins its real work. Moral. Science heals a body, but love heals what science cannot measure. And yet, the story did not end with her first steps. In many ways, that was only the beginning, because walking again did not erase a fear. It did not erase the years of doubt, exhaustion, and silent prayers whispered into pillows at night. My daughter would sometimes stop mid-step and look at me. Her eyes would ask a question she didn't know how to say. What if I fall again? Each time, I knelt down to her level. I told her the same thing I had learned the hard way. If you fall, I will be right here. Relearning how to walk was harder than losing it. Her muscles remembered pain more than strength. Her mind remembered limits more than freedom. So we worked again. Slowly, patiently. I marked the floor with small pieces of tape. 1 step to the first line. 2 steps to the second. Every line was a promise kept. Some days she succeeded. Some days she didn't. On those days, I carried her without a single word of disappointment. Because love does not rush healing. People began to notice. Neighbors stopped by with encouragement. A retired nurse volunteered advice. A stranger donated supportive shoes. Kindness started showing up in small, unexpected ways. One evening, my wife held my hands and said, I thought I lost everything, but you never stopped building. I realized then that this journey was never just about walking. It was about faith during exhaustion, hope during silence, consistency when applause was absent. My daughter fell many times after that. Scraped knees, tears, moments of frustration. But something had changed. She didn't stay down. She would look at me, breathe deeply, and push herself up. And every time she did, I felt something rise inside me too. A quiet understanding that strength is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is built in unseen moments when no one is watching. Years later, standing at her school performance, I watched her step onto the stage. Confident, balanced, smiling. The applause filled the room, but my heart was somewhere else. back in that hospital corridor, back to the promise I made when hope seemed unreasonable. I understood then that miracles don't always arrive suddenly. Sometimes they grow slowly, fed by patience, watered by love, and protected by unwavering belief. And still, the most important part of our story was yet to unfold. That night, after the performance, my daughter fell asleep in the car with her head on my shoulder. Her breathing was calm, steady, fearless. I carried her inside, just like I used to years ago, but this time my arms were shaking for a different reason. Not from pain, from gratitude. Life, however, has a way of testing joy. A few weeks later, the letter arrived. A thin envelope, a heavy message. The school was starting a competitive sports program, running drills, physical evaluations, public rankings. My daughter read the notice and went quiet. Too quiet. That old fear crept back into her eyes. The fear that once took her steps away. That evening, she asked me something that cut deeper than any diagnosis. Dad, should I even try? I sat beside her on the floor where our journey had truly begun. I didn't rush the answer. I told her the truth. You don't try to prove you are strong. You try because you are alive. The first day of evaluations arrived. Parents watched from the sidelines. Whispers floated in the air. I saw the looks. I knew the doubts. When it was her turn to run, she hesitated. The whistle blew. She started slow, careful, measured. Halfway down the track, her foot stumbled. The world seemed to hold its breath. She didn't fall. She adjusted. She kept going. Not fast, not perfect, but forward. I felt my wife's nails dig into my arm as tears streamed down her face. These were not tears of fear. They were tears of victory earned the hard way. When my daughter reached the finish line, she wasn't lost. But more importantly, she wasn't afraid. She walked back to us with her head high. Her smile said everything words could not. That day, something invisible healed completely. Not her legs, her belief. And I realized the greatest gift I had given her was not the ability to walk. It was the courage to trust her own strength. Still, life had one more lesson waiting. Years passed quietly after that day. Not quietly because nothing happened, but quietly because peace had finally taken root in our lives. My daughter grew taller, stronger, and wiser. She no longer measured herself against others. She measured herself against yesterday. One evening, I watched her help a younger child at the park. The little girl was scared to climb the steps of the slide. My daughter knelt beside her and said softly, "I'll stay right here. Take your time." Those words stopped my breath. They were my words, passed on without effort. My wife stood beside me, her hand warm in mine. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. In that moment, I understood the final lesson of our journey. Success is not walking without fear. It is walking with fear and choosing love anyway. The world often believes miracles come from power, money, or brilliance. But I learned something deeper. Miracles grow in ordinary homes, through tired hands, late nights, and hearts that refuse to quit. When my daughter hugged me and said, "Dad, you never gave up on me," I smiled through tears and replied, "I never could." Because love does not count the cost. Love does not accept limits without trying. Love stays moral. True strength is built through patience, compassion, and unwavering love. When we stand beside someone in their hardest moments, we don't just help them walk forward. We teach them how to believe in themselves forever. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it touched your heart, please share it, leave a comment below, and let someone know you are never alone.